Hello, welcome back to my channel. This is Faithful Rattos. This video is about the mistakes that I made when I first got my rats, and I'm always talking about how it's really important to admit the mistakes that you made and accept them and move past them, and it's okay to be wrong if you fix it. I'm always talking about that. Hi boys, I'm gonna be in the video. And I thought I should put my money where my mouth is and share with you mistakes that I made that I think will help other people from making them too. Because I think it's important to acknowledge mistakes that you made, acknowledge how far you've come, but also acknowledge the mistakes you made because you made them and it's okay as long as, you know, you're trying to fix them. And yeah, I'm going to stop blabbing and get into the mistakes that I made and why I think they're mistakes and what made me, you know, stop doing them and why I think it's important for other people to know about them. And I am on my boyfriend's gaming chair. That's why I'm spinning around. I haven't actually filmed a video on this chair before, so there's that. I'm going to close the curtains a little bit because this glare on my glasses is really pissing me off. That is better. Okay, so the first mistake that I made was getting my two boys, Cade and Hester, from Pets at Home. Now, you've heard me say this probably a lot, especially on my Instagram page, but Pets at Home and other chain pet stores in the US, PetSmart, Petco, are not the places to buy your animals from. Not only because of the way that they sort of use these animals as like products on the shelf, but specifically because of where they get their animals from. Now, they get their animals from breeding mills, rodent mills, which are not nice places. In these places, mothers and kittens are treated terribly. Mothers are bred basically until they die. It's really not a good environment. They don't have any enrichment, no sort of fun life to live there, and they're kept in very small trays, and it's just a really sad life, and they come from terrible, inhumane conditions, and that is why you shouldn't buy from a pet store. And not because in the pet store the employees don't know what they're doing, or in the pet store they're not in suitable enclosures. Well, that is reasons to it, but the main reason is because of where they come from. Now, I didn't know about this before I got them as deeply as I do now. I had an inkling that it wasn't a good thing to do, and that's another thing. If you have sort of a little bit of a gut feeling that you shouldn't be doing this, or this isn't the best idea or whatnot, listen to yourself, because I ignored that. And not saying that my boys are bad boys. They are not bad boys. This is Kate and Hester right here. So this is Hester, this is Kate. They are not bad boys. Come on boys. They're not bad boys at all, but we have had a lot of health issues with them, a lot more than my other rats. Hester was very, very nervous for a month and a half when we first got them, and oh, somebody's at the door. It was the postman. So yeah, that is the first mistake that I made, and the reasons why I think you shouldn't make it. Now, I mean, I've spoken about this with Ratopedia in our controversial topics videos, but saving animals from pet stores isn't really saving them. It's just making room for another one. Let's move on to the next one. So the second mistake that I made was pretty much listening to the advice that the pet store gave me. In many regards, I did do some of my own research. However, listening to any of the advice that the pet store gave me was a mistake. Firstly being using Back to Nature as a substrate. First of all, it's not absorbent enough. It's pretty dusty for an entire floor substrate, and it's also very uncomfortable for them to walk on and not easy to dig in. So all of the things that you want a substrate for, it's not very good at doing. It makes, in fact though, a wonderful litter. I have it in my boys' litter trays and it's great there, and that's only because you change out the litter trays so much more often than you would change out the substrate. So those issues, like it being not very absorbent, etc., you'd think you need something absorbent in the litter tray, but if you're changing it out often, I change mine out every few days when it starts to need it, it's much different than it being a substrate, so it's not as bad. And the thing with Back to Nature is it's also very expensive, much more expensive than any other option. So Back to Nature, the 20-litre bag is about £15, I think. I spend around 10 on a massive bale of Finicard cardboard substrate, which lasts me 2.5 cage cleans, whereas a Back to Nature, if I was to use the same amount of Back to Nature as I use now, would probably need more than one bag. So you can see that not only is it not suitable, it's also so much more expensive, and it's just pointless, in my opinion. And you know, there's other reasons like it being difficult to walk on and it being not very good for digging. It's just all around not really the best substrate out there, and that's one of the mistakes that I made because of the advice from Pet Store. Now, they did say not to use wood shavings because, hey, he's just cleaning you. Not to use wood shavings because of the dust. However, there are suitable wood shavings that are kill dried and just extracted that are perfectly fine, like bed mats, life mats, and other things like that. Boys! And so the second thing that I listened to the Pet Store on is the food. I fed them the Pets at Home nuggets, which are not good for many reasons. One, I don't believe a nugget is a suitable diet for rats because it doesn't give them the variety that they need. It's very boring, and most nuggets aren't nutritionally complete or balanced. And also the Pets at Home nuggets specifically are linked anecdotally to kidney issues and other health issues in rats, in breeders who obviously have a lot of rats and feed a lot more rats over the years compared to a pet home. And yeah, so I don't think feeding a nugget is good for a variety of reasons, mainly because even if the nugget is a well composed nugget, like the Science Selective is a decent nugget, I don't believe that that as a diet, as a staple diet, is acceptable, because in a country like the UK where you have access to a more well-rounded and variety-filled diet, like a Shunamite based mix that you make yourself or from rat rations, it's just not, it's not comparable at all. I see so much of a difference in my boys eating a mix than when they ate nuggets. And I also fed in a bowl, which is not a good idea to do either, because they can overeat and it's not enriching for them to just sit at a bowl. So that is another reason that I made that mistake, that I fed nuggets in a bowl. You wouldn't see me doing that ever again. But yes, that is the two mistakes that I made for listening to the people at the pet store. The fourth mistake that I'm going to talk about is when I first got the boys, I didn't have the cage ready with all of the accessories. I had the cage ready. It was a guinea pig cage, which isn't an ideal cage for rats, but it wasn't a bad cage, especially as a starter cage. But the issue with that cage was that, in fact, I didn't have enough stuff in it. I had a few cardboard boxes and a few hides. There was nothing to climb on. There's nothing to encourage climbing. There was no foraging toys. None of that. And looking back, comparing the cage that I have now to that cage is kind of embarrassing, actually. And I don't really post photos of that cage on my Instagram, obviously because I don't want people to think that it's okay, but also because I'm embarrassed of it, because it wasn't a good setup. It wasn't stimulating, it wasn't enriching at all. And now the boys have this cage. I'm hoping to upgrade to a little Zoo Ventura. That they are having sort of stock problems right now, so hopefully they get that sorted out and I'll save enough money by then to get a bigger cage. But yeah, that is another mistake that I made, was not having a well set up cage and not providing for my boys from day one. Now, they had plenty of outside the cage time, which I do feel like made up for their subpar cage size and shape. However, that doesn't excuse not having enough stuff to do. Now, eventually I did make the cage better, and by the time, just before I switched over from this cage, it was decent. it just wasn't brilliant. And I've said this before, I don't think we should be settling when it comes to pet care. I think we should be striving to be the best that we can, and I think with that comes admitting when you were wrong and when you can improve, and you know, things that you don't want to repeat, which is why I'm making this video, because I think it's very helpful to see people admit when they were wrong, admit that they made mistakes, admit that they have improved, so that people who watch my channel and see the advice I'm giving from my experiences see that it's coming from a genuine place. It's not coming from a place because I want to talk down to people. It's not coming from a place of anything like that. It's mainly coming because I'm embarrassed that my care wasn't up to standard when I first got my rats, and I don't think that I could live with myself. I mean, it sounds a bit dramatic, but I don't think I'd be happy with myself if I didn't impart the advice that I'd learned along the way, because giving your rats a great life when you've learned is a very good thing, but giving your rats a great life from the start is an even better thing. And if I can give that ability to other people starting out with rats, then that's it. You know, that's what I want to do with this channel, as well as make friends and things like that. That's what I want to do. I want to give that power to people, to be able to not make the mistakes that I did, to learn from my mistakes. And by publicizing my mistakes, it is embarrassing to me, and I wish I didn't make these mistakes. But if I publicize my mistakes, I can stop other people from making the same mistakes, and therefore give rats in general a better life, not just the rats that I look after. And I try very nicely, especially on Facebook groups, to be kind about the advice that I give out, but sometimes it doesn't come across that way to some people. But the whole reasoning behind me giving advice is so that people don't make the same mistakes I did, but also don't make mistakes. Because I think when you learn eventually and you look back and you see the mistakes that you made, it can be embarrassing and it can make you feel guilty and bad about yourself. But as long as you're willing to learn when you've made a mistake, willing to accept that you've made a mistake, and willing to do better in the future, it's not... Oh, who's having a trinket tester? It's not like as big of a problem, is it, if you won't change your opinion. That's my dinner there. After I finish this video, I'm gonna go eat. So yeah, I think very honestly, I have made a lot of mistakes. Not just these mistakes, these are the main sort of categories of mistakes. And I hope that with this video and with my channel, that I can let people know that it's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to learn from them. Especially, it's important to learn from them. But also, if you can learn from other people's mistakes and not make them in the first place, it's a much better situation. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. My next video, I think, is going to be about how to spot a reputable breeder, because I think after mentioning, you know, the issues with buying from pet stores, giving you the tools to find a reputable breeder is the next step. So that will be the next video. I don't know if I'm going to film it today, but that will be the next video. Yeah, I hope that this video was helpful to you, and I hope that it was useful to you, and just thank you very much for watching my channel. Please subscribe and stick around, and in the comments give me one mistake that you made when you first got rats, and we can share this humbleness, I guess, with each other and allow people to learn from our mistakes. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.